Welcome back to Visual Trigger.
Well, I'm just doing a podcast and a vlog.
Okay.
I'm not going to do like how-tos or anything like that. I'm just going to fucking
Yeah.
say what the
Yeah.
fuck I think because I don't fucking care anymore.
I mean, that's what you always did, man.
Well, and there's a goddamn fly in here. Yeah, it's always what I've done. You've done the same thing.
I know, for sure. But when you get older, you realize, oh, you were not always right. So I'm kind of like double thinking, double checking now.
Me too.
But I mean,
Me
yeah.
too.
I was reading a blog like I posted from 10 years ago, and I was basically writing what I was thinking, and I'm like, fuck.
Me too, and I will never do that again.
No, not like that.
No.
You know, you still should be able to share what you're thinking, but in a more sensitive way, probably. You
Right.
never know what can happen.
Like, just describe yourself a little bit, what you do, where you're from, and I won't interrupt you.
Of course, that's a good question. Every day would be a different answer. How I feel. So I started taking photos like in my late teens, 16, 17 years old, more experimenting with the camera, what you can do with it. And I was just curious what to do with the digital camera that my father gave me. But I soon realized, and I mean, that was in 2003, that the digital camera is basically it's like a toy compared to a real camera back in the day.
Right.
So that's when I switched to film just like a year later and learned everything in the darkroom, printing, developing. And I stick to that. And for many years, that was basically the best quality you can achieve technically. But it also created, for me, a kind of workflow that I got used to about what you want to do. Every shot you take, you really think about it. Like, is it really worth it? And you try to make, every time you take a photo, you try to make a good photo. And it's not just a try and error.
That's interesting because yeah. And so, but you come from Austria. Now you're living in, the golden land.
Yes, and it's a huge difference in culture difference for sure. But also as a photographer, I realized that a couple things I've done for my entire life as a photographer don't really work the same here.
Oh,
And
interesting.
people have completely different expectations of what they want to look like in photos. So you as a photographer have to adjust to the culture you live in a way if you want to, work for
Right.
sure.
Right.
If you want to just do your own thing, that's great. But for jobs, you got to know what the companies, what the market wants, needs, certain aesthetics that you think are completely exaggerated in Austria, they work perfect here, and vice versa. The same aesthetic
Interesting.
here and the same look here would probably look a little bit awkward in Austria. Since I worked with a lot of musicians and artists and actors and actresses, and they just want to have photos of them the way they are.
Not here.
Yeah, so they wanna see a real personal photo where you can kind of imagine who that person is before you meet them, because a set card should really reflect who they are. And here it's more like, I want to look like that. So they show you, for instance, smiles on portraits is something you rarely get in Austria, Germany. It's more like a serious,
Really?
thoughtful expressions.
Yeah, there's no thoughtfulness here. Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I know people in LA who've done headshots and made a fuck ton of money. So,
I mean, probably a different era, because I'm sure there are people that make money with that, like a good amount. But right now, it's more like I think it's a very strong competition out
Right.
there. I see a lot of Instagram posts with giving headshots like 3 looks for $150 or $200, which is not enough, I would say, for professional photos.
I don't think
But this
so
is
either.
what you're up.
But if you look up Theo and Juliet, they're actually on your side of town. They're one of the gold standards, and they're at least $1,000. So is shooting street in LA now? Because I mean, I know that you don't like say you still pick up your fucking camera and you still go hunting once in a while. I know, because when we went to lunch that day, you may not have done it for a little while, but you were right in the
Well, first of all, when I came to LA, I kept taking photos just like usual, like
Right.
you know, probably 2-3 rolls a week, which is
That's
I think quite a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is, once you arrive here, you realize that you have to really go to places. Yeah, it's so spread out. So you have to think about where am I going to take street shots, because it's not like you just walk outside and you will find a couple of moments. Not in Santa Monica right now. So I kind of got used to that, and I realized that I need a better idea of what I want to take photos of in LA. It's not like, oh, you go outside, walk outside the door like in New York, and you just get 500 cool moments surfed in a day.
Right.
I'm not saying that you have 500 good shots a day, but you have at least the possibility or the chance
Absolutely.
to take them. So LA is much more difficult to approach.
I think there's a lot more luck involved in Los Angeles, because shit just happens. Like I could go walk up and down Sunset Boulevard from where I lived in LA, and I didn't see a fucking thing. And I got good exercise, so I mean, maybe that was good. But here, here I live in the middle of nowhere. There is nothing going on in my little town. It's just like Santa Monica, it's a ghost. Right, like what when I asked you about when you went to Kigali, I said, well, do they do street photography there? And you're like, I think they're looking for food. They're not really interested.
That's what I said.
You said something like that. You said they're more.
Well, here's the thing: when you walk down the street as a white person, there's a lot of like kids. They will come up to you and just ask you straight for money, or sometimes food or cookies, whatever word they can say in English.
Oh.
It depends on the country, of course. In the Congo, they mostly still speak French, so they don't speak much English, but they know they gotta kind of approach you in talking English. And taking street photos in Kigali, the challenge there is you cannot stay hidden. It's not like you just walk around with a camera and you're just another person.
Yeah, you're a big white beacon.
Yeah.
Basically. And my only experience with that is going to Korea. And I was like a big white beacon.
Yeah, and they love that. And then
they did love it, because they were always like, "Oh, your grandparents were the generation that saved us from North Korea," and they bought me coffees. Very nice people.
I mean, that's a good experience that you made for sure.
But you had a good experience in both places you were at. You didn't get kidnapped.
It's just weird that you walk around and people come to you and approach you as something exquisite. It's such a weird feeling that you are the center of attention, although you just didn't do anything.
Right.
It's almost like, imagine you're like a famous actor and you walk down in LA with a camera and you try to take street shots. It's not gonna work.
No.
I mean, hardly.
Some of them try.
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz, he had a show, and I don't know how, but every time Leica had some party in LA, I was the one who was hired by one way or another, either by Leica or through their PR agency or through an adjunct PR agency. And I'm sure some of the executives there were like, how the fuck do we get away from every single photograph in the show was the same thing. It was like him looking through a window and fans. I mean, I guess because it meant something to him, it was meaningful.
It's really a matter of perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to see what it looks like from that perspective of like a rock star, what life looks like around you, but like it's not really, it's not, I don't think it was meant in a very self-critical or society critical way.
No. Oh no. It was basically everybody around him says, "Hey, you're a great photographer." I guarantee you, because I've been around enough celebrities to know everybody around them says yes. Everybody. And if you say no, then they're like, "Well, I guess you're just not showing the love." And they get rid of you. But I mean, I think post COVID-19, the celebrity world, celebrity culture, bye-bye. It's going away.
I mean, a lot of things will go away. I hope that consumerism is gonna get a like,
A slap in the face.
oh, for sure.
Oh, it has.
Well, when you think about it right now, what a lot of people are facing is life reduced to the bare minimum, which is not a bad thing. It makes you think like, hey, what do I really need? What are the real values, and what do I want to keep up in my life, and what do I really don't need? You know?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I, it was my girl's birthday yesterday, and I, I made her a Gruyere and prosciutto quiche made with eggs from my chickens, which you've had before. You know my chickens; they make good eggs. Um, and asparagus soup. And the funny thing is, when I was recycling the little tag, it said 2.29. So that asparagus soup was like $1 a piece, like per serving. You go to a restaurant, how much is a really well done asparagus soup? $15? And where you live, it's probably 18, 19.
Of
So
course, it's so inflated.
everything. And now I think
Yeah.
people, because, well, you cook, we both cook a lot because
Yeah,
I'm usually
I
disappointed.
cook every day now,
Yeah, I
especially
cook.
now.
Yeah. 22 days now. But I would go for 7 days and 6 days and cook, but now it's like 20 fucking days in a row. So,
Yeah. No,
well,
it's great. I think if people do it right, you know, some people have to learn a new craft right now. Some people have to think differently, and for us as photographers or video producers, we probably have to adjust to new messages and new ways of presenting products and
oh,
companies.
absolutely. I think the sell is going to be a softer sell. It's not, I don't think you can, because like right now, people are losing their fucking jobs. They don't want to see you sitting doing a like an Instagram live by your pool that is like, and I'm not saying by pointing that way I have a pool this size because I don't. Um, but you know, like an Olympic sized pool, that's a total disconnection. I think that the message now has to be really honestly authentic hope because things are going to be fucking different. And the little motion projects I've been thinking about are mostly centered around hope because I think that's what people want to hear and they kind of need to hear. And maybe even I need to hear that. So, you know, I think we're all in the same boat together.
I agree. It's like I said, it's the message right now. It's gonna be completely different. Imagine you are working on a like, let's say you're working in an advertising agency and you have these clients and you prepare like a campaign for summer 2020. All these campaigns will be completely different, changed, or like erased. I don't know what. Like I've talked to friends that work in that field. They say they have to start over, you know.
Yep.
And their messages become in a way more real, less focused on inflated values, and that's exactly what we're trying to cut off, I think, hopefully, and get back to real communication.
I hope. Oh yeah, today we had two sets of friends. Just we haven't seen them in 21 days, literally. Well, we were also out of town for a few days, so let's just say almost a month. And you know, both of them came over to get some eggs because our girls are laying like a dozen a day, and we just got baby goats. So yeah, they're like this big. They're tiny. And even though everybody people stayed 6 to 10 feet away, we still had a conversation. But you can tell people are like, "Fuck." this the isolation. And what do you think that's done to street photography? Because
I mean, first of all, when you walk down the street right now and see people approaching you, they are some kind of they almost look scared of you. So everybody, there's not much trust out there right now. I mean, why would you?
why would you?
But on the other hand, it's almost like saying, "Hey, I didn't do anything, right? I'm just walking down the street, just like you. You don't have to be scared." So I never had that feeling taking photos on the street, but I know that there are people out there that react on being photographed on the street in a very negative way, and that's basically because of the way photography has been, of course, abused as well in the media and everywhere. So I think what's the word when you lack trust in general?
You're suspicious.
Suspicious, exactly. So the level of suspiciousness right now is really high. So taking street shots right now, people are super suspicious. Like, what are you doing out there? Why are you on the street? Even like, why are you even out the street? In LA, like, you're supposed not to walk around except you have a dog. And I mean, you can walk, of course. No one's gonna, like, not right now, no one's gonna stop you. But I've heard people saying, go home, and signs, stay home, and everything. So
Really?
it's
Even
happening, sure.
even in the People's Republic of Santa Monica?
Yes, even here. And we were just going to the farmers market getting like groceries, you know. But people are like, don't come close to me. So I was always this kind of like, I'm not hiding behind a corner taking photos with a tele lens, you know. So I need this interaction on the street life. And it's dead now. So street photography right now is, you can take photos of empty streets basically, or people in masks. It's gonna get boring, you know. It's
well,
like,
the phone has already gotten boring to me since is when it started.
I'm going through my work right now because I think the actual value of street photography shows it like later. Like, you look at photos from 10, 15 years ago, you look at a photo from let's say a month ago, you don't know that COVID is going to happen, you know. You still take pictures. So some photos will gain their actual meaning or message or value just over time.
Interesting. I think
try to take the subway in New York and take photos of people that are not looking at their phones. I mean, it's not possible anymore.
I think I see more in that city anywhere else. People with newspapers on the subway. But most people are drilling that feed, man. Just drilling it because it is so super focused. And I think your phone has a lot of confirmation bias because you're only looking at what interests you.
Of course.
And
but you also only look at a screen.
Right. And
so you don't look around you anymore.
And also it's light that's like projected at you. Isn't it I think there's a difference between light that's reflected off of a surface than light that's projected. And it's the same thing with photography, kind of, you know?
I totally agree.
Because, like, I mean, I'm probably like digital more than you do. I probably always have. Because I remember, like, you know.
I could never start taking a digital camera for street photography, and I could never do it. Every time I try, I just like don't have the same feeling. I don't know.
You may not have the same feeling, but you've made even just with like a camera of mine that you've used. I mean, you've made some good shots. So
I took the Jesus photo with that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because now I really like doing video a lot more. I dumped Final Cut. Fuck Final Cut. I like Premiere. I like DaVinci. And I mean, knock on wood, I've only had one crash. Everybody's like, oh, Premiere's so crashy. And I'm like, I mean, again.
Yeah. I know. It's been really stable for me for a couple years now. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, when 4K, when you're asked by a client to do 4K and you're like, why? Because nobody needs it. Because I always talk to these guys, they're like, well, you know, I shoot a red, it's a 6K, and it's like, Okay. Is your project going to be on Netflix? Because it's probably fucking not. So, one of the last things I shot in LA, there was a crew, 3 Reds on different kinds of mounts, gimbals, and I was like, "Whoa! Like, what are you guys shooting?" And I was shooting for the same brand, some fancy fucking, big money stupid brand, and I'm like, "Where's this going?" And they're like, "Well, Instagram and YouTube," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm glad you guys got the Red out and Leica primes."
I don't get it either, man. I think if you're shooting for Instagram or even like these stories that they post, you should basically stick to a phone. To be honest,
Yeah. Well,
no one's gonna care that much.
the viewers aren't.
No,
They don't care.
they don't see the difference on a screen like that.
No, you're gonna love the new enlarger I got.
I want to see that for sure.
I
Well, here's the thing. I don't know why, but I still have the same scanner. I still shoot Tri-X. I still shoot the same lenses since like more than 10 years. I still have the same developer. I don't know why. I'm 33 years old,
yeah.
It's not like I'm an old guy, but I might still want to use that in 20 years. I just like it and it works for me, so that's why I stick to it. And I realized one thing, as much as black and white and these photos, the style that I'm doing is kind of like not the latest fashion, but at least I can have photos that are 10 years old and I can mix them with photos that I just took a week ago, and it will just work, So for books, for exhibitions, for my website, for all that, I can mix those photos together, and it looks like one. It looks like my style, my signature.
Right. But you didn't just pick up a camera 2 years ago and say, "Oh, this is my style."
No, of course.
But
I never even thought about it. It just comes natural, of course.
right. But that's a very tiny percentage of people who are photographers. I mean, and you've never called yourself a street photographer, have you?
Um, it's a weird definition, I think, because I don't know who came up with it first, but it's not like it has been there for like just 10 years. It has always been like from the very beginning of photography, and it was never called street photography. So like it's basically saying you're a photographer.
Right. So like Cartier-Bresson, he didn't say, "Oh, I'm a street photographer." He was a commercial fucking photographer, and so was Bouba and Duano. They were all photographers. They didn't say, "Oh, I'm a street photographer."
It's hard. You can't really define it, and people who try to define it, they always fail in a way, because that's where people start to have arguments, especially with these groups, collectives. When 5 people agree this kind of style, like let's say what I've seen is someone recording video basically with a camera, because when you do a panorama with your phone, it's basically recording a video and just stitching the files together.
Right.
So a panoramic shot with a phone creates this kind of effect that moving parts will be like in a scanner, have this kind of create abstract shapes. A person walks through, and then only one part of the person will be in the still, and the other part is kind of like distorted. So there was this discussion: is this street photography or not? Why do we even need to talk about this? Do we care? Is it good? Is it good photography? Does it work? Does it tell a story? Is it aesthetically interesting? I mean,
But does it need to tell a story? Because aesthetic photos don't tell stories. They're just graphic. They're just like graphic interfaces of like humans with a color or a sign or an arrow or a cat with a fucking tail. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, those photos for me are mostly like studies of something happening, but is it really telling me much? That's the question,
Right.
So if you want to define what's a good photograph taken in an urban setting, and you say, well, if it tells me a story, then there you have your
Except you kind of have to define it a little bit if it's like on a platform and people are saying, oh well, this picture of a street is street photography, because that just doesn't seem right.
I mean, I know what you're trying to say here. I had to define street photography for myself, because otherwise I wouldn't know what I talk about or what I am doing personally. So personally, I know what I'm trying to achieve with my photos, and I also see that this kind of quality is something I respect in other people's work for sure.
Okay.
And I kind of have to say I got kind of more easily bored of something that doesn't really tell me a story about the place, the time, the people. It gives me a feeling of where this photo was taken, because then it's kind of just random, you know. And just to find some funny juxtaposition somewhere on the planet happening in front of you isn't really a guarantee for a really strong picture that will last for years and generations to come, to be understood and to trigger something in you, you know.
But the people who do the juxtaposition stuff, it's easy to go out every single day and probably come up with something to post on Instagram.
I mean, if you think about it, when you think about advertising or design or anything happening in the streets out there, it's meant to create juxtapositions.
That's true.
You see words, you see colors, you see photos of models smiling, because we place elements already in the city everywhere, every store window, you know, everything gives you the possibility for juxtaposition. The question is, how strong is that juxtaposition in the photo, and will it survive for many years to come to still work? You know, will people in 20 years will still get it?
Yeah, but you're also assuming that people have a qualified to make that, like, you know, like when you see a lot of people posting that kind of stuff, there's just a bunch of like people who want to kiss their asses, like hitting like, and they jump up within like certain hashtags. So just because something has 22, that's like saying Kim Kardashian has good fucking taste. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of pedestrian motherfuckers out there who think, oh, that bitch is the best. It's the same thing with photography.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was saying. Like Kim Kardashian, I don't know who's caring about that in 20 years.
She may not even care about herself in 20 years.
Well, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that the quality of whatever you do should be timeless in a way, so that it's still good. You know, you can still listen to the Beatles today.
I mean, yeah, sure. I don't, but
I mean, I'm just saying, right, quality music or quality in art kind of is timeless in a way. In music too. I mean, it's not just a matter of taste, of course, but how do you say that? If you really just follow what's the latest fashion right now, and you just want to create something that fits exactly that, then it will only be good for the mainstream right now, and probably not in a year from now anymore.
Probably not, but I don't think people care, because there's so much content to just go through on your feed. So, and
that's one of the main problems I see with photography, that you try to create something these days that will work right now and that people like right now, and it's meant to only work for a couple of seconds on your screen, and that's basically not a good motivation, I think, to create photos.
Right. I'd rather have them on my wall. I mean, to be honest, I walk by shit a lot and just stand there for a second and just, I know why that's on my wall.
Yeah. But you see a timeless quality in that, because you got that frame probably 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you still like it, right?
Right. Well, there's a lot. I mean, you know, you saw the last place. There's a lot of things on the walls.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you have a great selection, and I'm happy to be part of it.
You are. Yeah, definitely.
I remember bringing some prints.
Well, that was in LA. And then when I moved to the other place, that was like 2012, I think, right? You came out in
2012, yeah, it was the second time.
right. And then we went to Berlin at some point. I don't even know what year that. Yeah, but we did 3 workshops.
Yeah, Berlin, New York, LA.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, did we make a few $100s? Yeah, about there. Maybe. But it wasn't about that.
No, of course not. I came to LA. We did the first workshop. I invested all that money I made there to fly straight to New York to take street shots and fly back home, you know.
Right.
I spent all my money on that. But this is a great investment, you know. This is exactly what I was trying to do all my life. To invest in my own photography, because what else do you want to do, you know?
I mean, yeah, of course, by shooting like as a pro, I have to make a living. However, I also fund, shooting on my own because
Yeah. That you must always find a way to fund. I know enough people that get state funding because they're artists for their projects. That was never really my thing. I just wanted to work all the time. You know, I just wanted to take photos all the time. I just lived in my darkroom.
Yeah. In Austria, you sure as hell did. But I mean, come on. Fucking winter, man. Winter's not that's a real winter there. So like
yeah, even better. In the winter, I spent even more time in the darkroom.
But now you live in LA.
Yes, now there's no seasons.
No, every day's nice. And everybody in that town is pretty.
Yeah. At least they try to adjust to some kind of beauty ideal out there.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Pretty is a good word for sure. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, I think that the top 0.00001% of the gene pool makes it to LA to at least try to be an actor for a year. I mean, right now it's probably stopped a little bit.
I've met a lot of people that say they're actors, then I say, hey, so what are you acting for? Oh yeah, well, I'm actually working on, like, I have a side gig, and I just want to be an actor. Basically, was the answer. So it's a thing in LA for sure. Oh. Maybe it's also the same for photographers.
There's a lot of photographers in LA. I don't know if there's. I mean, the thing is now, everybody says they're a fucking photographer. Everybody. And even where I live, the mom with the Canon camera she got at fucking Best Buy, she's meeting people in the park for $100.
Man, I mean, here's the thing. If you want to define photography as basically someone who is able to take a picture technically, I mean, it's not difficult these days. You have phones, everybody can create content, and that's basically also what we are fighting against. Right. That this millions and billions of posts, content is so easy to create these days that it just happens automatically all the time. And I think what's most important is either to be much better professionally, technically, or also what content do you create? Like, what is your message and what's your concept behind what you do? Like, do you really think about what you're doing, or are you just basically doing it? Is like the phone or the camera basically dictating your life because you just create and create and create and create? Like, I'm looking.
But how much do you think they look at, like, after they create it? Because I know even me, I'll create a whole bunch of stuff and I may not even see it again. Sometimes I don't even see it again. And
I think photography becomes more of a thing that's happening. It's just happening all the time, constantly. It's not such a process anymore. It's not like you have to bring a film into a lab or you develop it yourself. It's not like you have to make a selection of what you want to have printed and put it in an album. I mean, this is I'm just talking about hobby photography from back in the day. That was basically a real commitment. It was a commitment to choose your prints. It was a commitment to only take 3 rolls on your vacation and think about what you photograph. And it's even if it's just like sightseeing that you take photos of. But it was some kind of like it was always one family member that was passionate about it. Now it's like everyone.
Well, yeah, because we all have this, and you
Right.
know, everybody's a fucking photographer now. And I've seen actually good stuff come out of those. But when you say about thinking about the frame with film, I assisted a motorcycle photographer and car photographer. We would show up to the lab with a kitchen trash bag full of Velvia. So I'm talking 4 seconds, and I'm handing him another body that has another roll of film. And sometimes you can't even fill the body up because he was shooting so much fucking film. And I'm sure that's not good for the environment.
I know what you mean, but that's an extreme example for
That's-
sure.
yeah,
He was basically shooting digital with film.
Yes, and then we go to the lab and we would do snip tests on everything to make sure do it a third, normal, and minus a third, just to make sure because it was chrome and you had to make sure. But we also shot 4x5, and that was no matter who you are, that's a slow process.
No, I was just saying what we're talking about right now isn't new. It's been around for like maybe almost 10 years now that everybody's taking photos all the time.
Yeah.
But you should still keep thinking about it, I think, and bring it up once in a while, because if you don't, you completely forget about it.
I agree.
You completely forget your own roots, where you came from, why you did it. Like, when was the last time you thought about why did I start photography? Like, seriously, your personal, most honest intention of why you started.
It wasn't with a camera, though. It was just with sitting in the back of a car when I was 8 years old with my parents and just like blinking and thinking about what I saw. And, you know, because that was in the 70s, that was in the early 70s, and begging them to buy me a camera. And I mean, you know, it was expensive then. I mean, especially when you think of the dollars in those days. So, but like you said about photo albums, not everything made it in that photo album. Like, people were making editorial decisions, and, you know, Uncle Bob made the editorial decision. I don't think we do that now. Like,
No, I mean, I think that the average person, if we can call it like that, doesn't really do it. Like, most people have those clouds full of thousands of photos they'll never go back to look at again.
Ever.
And all they do is upgrade their storage because it's automatic. Your storage is full. Oh, it's like another $1 extra, and you just get more storage, which shows you it's your work, like your storage, your photos are not worth anything actually.
We'll also think about after COVID, the next worst thing. I mean, because we're all on hold right now. It's just like someone put the hold button. The next thing that could happen is an EMP, sorry, like an electromagnetic pulse. All of these digital photos, gone. And, you know, to be totally honest, like, I almost think that'd be...
I just think that this kind of reset that's happening is good in a society that kind of lost their goal, lost the destination where to go.
Absolutely.
And in photography, it's kind of the same thing. Okay, new camera. Okay, bit more megapixels. Okay, the phone has now, I don't know, 25 or 40 megapixels, which is crazy. So this is not really an evolution, because it's not going anywhere that is useful for humanity or for photography in general.
Right, but when's the last time you bought a new camera?
I bought for myself.
Yeah, well.
In 2017, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm still working with that.
Of course. And before that, you still had the same beat up 5D Mark II.
Yes, I had a 5D Mark II for 10 years.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah.
Is it still alive?
No.
It's dead.
That's why I had to buy a new.
Right. But you didn't just go like, oh, fucking Canon just came out with something new. I got it. Like, you needed it as like a hammer to hammer nails in. Like, it was a tool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's all they do. Like, I know people that just sell, like, get a piece of gear, sell it. And I mean, I know a guy who bought a Noctilux 3 times. Yeah. Well, he bought the same one 3 times because it didn't sell at Sammy's. Like, he just would sell it to them and buy it back, sell it to them and buy it back. And I'm like, dude, just
For instance, like, I don't know, have you seen that Netflix Chef's Table?
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's so well done, and I'm like, dude, like, if you want to reach that kind of quality, that's great. Like, I'm all on. I will support all the gear you need just to make something beautiful as that.
And you need a lot of gear to do that.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's also the stories they tell, how they tell it, the whole production, you know? So it all comes down to, I don't really care that much about how well it's done if the story isn't gripping, you know, if it's not a real human story happening on your screen, because all of these people had their own, you know, ups and downs and
Right.
life story that they share, and that's the core element, and that's the most important element.
But that's true with all content. So I think a lot of people just like to waste their time and really like waste their lives, because that's what if you're just looking at all this shit, you're wasting your time. You don't get your time back. Like, it's better to like pet my dog.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And doing nothing is good because it means you stop doing something that is useless.
Right.
And you probably think about what you're doing. So that's why COVID right now happening, hopefully for a lot of people, is like, hey, what am I doing in life actually? Like,
I hope people are asking it, because I mean, I'm asking that question of myself, you know, because
everybody's doing it for sure.
I feel very fortunate. I have not gotten Ronid, because that's what I call it.
Ronin?
No, Ronid. Ronad. Ronid. Did you get Ronid?
Oh my god.
Yeah, a Coronid, but I took off the CO. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. So what do you plan on doing after Corona?
Well, there are many options.
Good. Yeah.
Maybe go to a farm and learn about permaculture.
Yep.
Just something that has a long lasting effect on my life in a way.
Yep.
Because photography will always be with me, and I'm not giving it up because life changes. Of course not. Professionally, I think it's very important right now to already prepare for a new way of handling things, you know.
Yep.
Like, society's gonna change, and the sooner you realize that, the better.
Absolutely.
The sooner you start to get ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the change has winners and losers for sure. Yeah, and you want to be at the winner side.
It's a better thing to do, you know.
And just to think that everything will go back to normal is not. You should not do that, because there is no go back to normal. It's gonna be a new normal. It's gonna be after COVID.
Yeah.
It's that massive. That change is that massive that it's not about conspiracy or not. That doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter, because you and I and everybody around us, we're all dealing with it. You know, maybe there are other people who don't have to deal with it, but this is our new reality for everybody. So I guess, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think the most important is, like you said, to think about your content, what you do, what you produce, what you publish, because I would love to see a change in focus on more quality and real, like, stories, real value. That's why I brought up Chef's Table, because it can be perfectly produced, but the real quality is that there's a human's story, someone's life's story in there, and that's the actual meaning of
Yes.
that, and it's not just a pretty looking dish.
Right. Did you see The Biggest Little Farm?
No, gotta check that out.
Oh, dude. Yeah, you got to check that out. Yeah, you'll probably want to be on a farm. You already do, I know, but
Have you seen um the fungi movie, Fantastic Fungi?
no.
That's a
Oh.
cool one.
Fantastic Fun Guy.
I don't know if it's Fantastic Fungi. I think it's fantastic.
Well, text like find it and like because we're starved for content. You know, there's like a million fucking things, and there's never anything to watch. Yeah.
It's a good movie, for sure. If you like mushrooms.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've got truffles on the property.
I think all mushrooms are great.
Dude, I mean, they're great and they can also fucking kill you. So, like, literally shut your fucking kidneys down like that because we read stories about people who do that shit up here.
Dude, life is all about fermentation.
Oh, no, like, so that's a whole other rabbit hole that I would love to go down because I mean, I make my own kimchi. I make my own cider from actual British and French cider apples. And, you know, dude, I mean.
And I mean, wine is fermentation.
Oh,
Beer.
Fermentation's life.
Yeah.
And it's the metamorphosis of like one life form and it transforms it into another one. So
It is amazing. And this is what's happening. We have like a human society fermentation happening.
Oh my God, yeah, we do.
We're all sitting at home and we are changing into a new something.
Yeah.
We rot it. Because if something rots, it doesn't die. It just changes into a new living form, you know.
Oh yeah, like when I die, I want to just feed a tree, you know, like be in one of those pods. It's fucking fantastic. I mean, I would rather see a beautiful forest that could never be cut down than a fucking cemetery.
Oh yeah, I don't know who came up with that concept.
Some sick fuck.
I'm resting here forever.
Yeah, no, I'd rather feed a tree and just, you know. Well, brother, I got to do one more thing in like 20 minutes for our Grape Growers Association. But yeah, look forward to seeing you back in Los Angeles when I come down there.
Yes,
And,
we will definitely.
Thanks for taking time out and talk about all this crazy shit.
Yeah, man. Sorry you were cut off a little. But
thanks for
really looking forward to see you edit.
Yep.
And to all the other
Yep. For sure, brother.
statements of everyone.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's talk soon, my brother.
Yes, we will. Okay.
Be well.
Be well.